What's up, guys, and welcome to episode 52 of the Yard Podcast. I'm your host, Randy.
And I'm your host, Konu.
And as always, we've got our producer, Ray, here. Before we get started, this is our 1-year anniversary on episode 52 Woo! Of our podcast. So big shout out to everyone that's been following around and listening. We really do appreciate you guys. So if you have been listening, do us a favor really quickly. Go leave a rating and review. Let us know how we're doing. We appreciate it. Positive, negative. We prefer the positive. But if we do need to work on some stuff, please let us know.
As long as the negative is constructive, I'm all good with it.
Yeah. We're all for like negatives that help us do better. If you're going on there to just be a dick, well, keep it to yourself because we don't care. But for today's game, we got a day game. It's actually in about an hour. So we're going to try to get through this and so that way we can get to watching the game. But we've got our guy, Julio Urias, on the mound, having a decent season so far. The 13-4 Dodgers are taking on the 11-6 Mariners. It's a little weird to be saying we're taking on the first place Mariners, but hey, here we are. Couple weeks.
They were pretty good last year too, though. They weren't in first place, but they were pretty good last year too.
Yeah, I definitely. I thought it would take them another year or so to start playing like this, but hey, they got a Kyle Lewis, Rookie of the Year, back in the lineup today.
Oh
so,
God, my fantasy team needs you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, he's been chilling on the IL in my fantasy team. So we are looking to avoid. The Dodgers are looking to avoid their first series loss of the season. Them and the last I checked, the Royals are the only teams that have not lost. So. Got a not so great lefty on the mound. And I think every Dodger fan knows when we play crappy lefties, the Dodgers tend to not do so well. So hopefully that changes today and we can come out of there with a win. We got an off day tomorrow and then we have 4 more against the Padres, which we definitely want to talk about that series. But before we do, the very first thing is let's do a Mookie Betts update. If you watched the game or didn't watch the game last night, you probably know that Mookie Betts took a 95-mile-per-hour pitch off the forearm/wrist area. That did not look good at all. He looked like he was in a ton of pain, understandably so. They kept him in the game. Unfortunately, Seager ended up grounding into a game-ending double play, so that was almost kind of like a double punch to the gut. Mookie gets hurt, and they got the tying run on. I think it was, they get the guy on base, and then they can't do anything with it. So not a great end to last night's game. They did get x-rays back. So far, so good. They came back negative, which is a positive thing. However, I will say after the whole Bellinger thing, I'm a little bit nervous that if they haven't taken the MRI yet, if there's going to be possibly any deeper damage. We've seen this happen in the past. So just keeping very, very positive thoughts for Mookie right now because that guy is so important to this team. The Dodgers were winning without him, but something like this, if it is bad, it could be quite some time before he gets back. So Robert said they are staying positive, a lot of swelling. The plan is to not use him today. Like I said, day off tomorrow. So hopefully he's healthy, ready to go. But we are in April, so I just hope they don't push him and we get him back very, very soon. His bat hasn't been great, but his glove, which we will absolutely talk about, has been still doing its thing and saving us games. But first thing I wanted to get into was that Friday night game. Actually, I'm going to ask you first, did you have anything in specific you want to talk about the Rockies series? Because I kind of felt like that I didn't, nothing.
No, I was just going to kind of summarize the week of games. I wasn't going to go too deep into specific games, so we can still talk about the Padres series, but I just wanted to give an overall how I felt about the week of games. The strikeouts were piling up for the Dodgers this week. Taylor and McKinstry struck out 10 times over the last week. Muncy and Turner struck out a lot as well. But Turner's been consistently our best hitter, continues to get hits, so there's really no need to worry about him.
I do want to say really quickly, because I had to say this on Twitter with Turner, I will say that man, and I am so happy making me and you look pretty dumb not wanting him back on the team, because that dude is just out here killing it. And I mean, I'm all for it. Make me look stupid as long as he's doing well. I could care less. He's absolutely tearing it up out there. Yeah. That power.
Crazy thing is, he doesn't even hit the ball that hard, but he gets this weird slice on the ball when he makes contact that happens to find areas. But so he's just a professional hitter is the best way I can put it. But the defense hasn't been great either. But despite all that, the Dodgers went 5-2. They swept the Rockies. They won 2 against the Padres. And then, of course, they lost 1 and then lost last night. But they had a chance to win every single game, so you can't really be mad at that. Actually, I was surprised a bit by the record, honestly. The pitching was good, but Smith, Taylor, Muncy, Pollock, Seager, Betts all were really cold in the past week. Rios continues not to do much as well. Now, obviously, they're not going to have great weeks every week because that's just not how baseball works. But still being able to go 5-2 is a testament just to how good they really are, and especially how good they can be when they're clicking on all cylinders.
Yeah, very weird stat I saw, which is not something we are used to as Dodger fans at all, is their pinch hitters are like 0 for 15 with like 10 strikeouts so far this season. So they're just not getting any help from that bench part, which in a way it makes sense when you don't have your team fully healthy and you don't have Bellinger, you have a bench guy like Rayleigh or McKinstry who would usually come off the bench already playing. So it automatically makes your bench weaker.
Oh, real quick though, I do want to say I think Rayleigh's been really nice. He's hit the ball really hard.
Yeah,
Since
he's been fun to watch. He had that first career home run, which we'll talk about in a little bit in that game against the Padres.
Also, for a big dude, he's pretty fast.
He moves. A couple of those Dodgers, like you see, kind of like Muncy. He reminds me of Muncy a little bit. That you're like, oh, this is a big dude, but he just hauls around those bases.
Yeah.
And hey, he's having fun, and I think that's something we talk about all the time. If they're having fun, that usually contributes to the win column. So good for Rayleigh. He's off to a start. But yeah, there's been a lot of strikeouts. Some of these at bats have looked ugly. The defense has been even uglier. The fact they rolled out of San Diego with 2 out of 3 wins isn't that surprising, and they could have won all 3. Defense played a little bit of a part in that loss, as well as just not coming through with at bats against Blake Snell, kind of still having our number. Taylor did go deep against him, but other than that, that guy kind of still has it going against us. But
was it Taylor that went deep against him in the series?
Oh no.
Okay.
I don't know. It was just Barnes knocked him out of that game. Actually, no. I think he did. Game. He did. Yeah, he did. Yes, you're correct. Yeah, he did. Yeah, you are correct. He did hit him. So I guess Taylor and Barnes are the guys against Snell to get up there and get him hitting, because nobody else can seem to figure him out. But hey, he's a hell of a pitcher. So
and the crazy part is Mookie Betts was killing him when he's on the Red Sox too.
Yeah, and it just hasn't translated over yet. But I mean, hey, it's all good. We came out with some wins. This 4-game series coming up against the Padres, I think, will be another big test. I think they talked about possibly bringing back Lamet, so we'll see what happens there. I think we're facing Musgrove, who has been just completely lights out for the Padres, basically through his first 4 starts, I want to say, this season. But I did want to get into a little bit more of the specifics of these games against the Padres, just because I kind of think this is some of the best competition we will see all season long. And it kind of really brought out the good stuff that is going to be between the Padres and Dodgers all season long. As we know, Dodger fans, myself included, have not wanted to look at this, and the players, and Dave Roberts has not wanted to look at this as a rivalry. We do not consider it a rivalry. This weekend might have changed that in some people's minds. Robert said it felt like a rivalry. Some players came out, said it felt like a playoff. There was some fire between Santana and Mateo, Kershaw and Profar. So it was just an all around very fun series. But that Friday night game, we'll start there. Walker Buehler versus Weathers. I think it's Ryan Weathers, but Buehler looked pretty good. Gave up a few hits. He went 6 innings, 7 hits, 2 run, 2 earned, 1 walk, and 4K. But I'm good with it. I feel like early on we never truly know what we're gonna get with Buehler. So if he's getting me 6 or 7 innings and he's not giving up 4 or 5 runs, I feel like that's kind of all we can ask for.
But I think us as fans know, and Buehler knows, it wasn't his best. Again, he only had 4 strikeouts. And his fastball velocity was pretty down. But I mean, he did a great job to go 6 innings and limit to just 2 runs, especially against that lineup. So, and obviously he can only get better. So that bodes well for the Dodgers.
Yeah, he gave up a solo shot to Tatis, who was back at the game. We have been talking about how we felt about this. They did bring Tatis back. He was
really bad this weekend.
Yeah, he was very bad defensively, very, very bad offensively, and it's kind of continued into their series last night. I saw he did not do well either against the Brewers. We'll give him a break because I think Woodruff was on the mound, so we'll see if he turns it around. But
the Brewers' top 2 pitchers have been wow.
We face them in 2 weeks. No, this 2 weeks from this past weekend. So I'm kind of hoping
Woodruff and Burns.
I don't know. I just know we played the Brewers that May 1st weekend. So April 31st.
That's going to be rough.
Yeah. So we'll see who we line up there. But yeah, Padres got the scoring started early with the Capusano RBI single in the 2nd. And then, like I said, Rayleigh had his first home run, kind of just a laser straight out to right field. Had his first career home run to tie it up in the 5th.
That was the hardest hit the Dodgers have had all year.
Yeah, he crushed that thing. It came off the bat and just flew.
That tied the game, right?
Yeah, that's what tied it up in the 5th inning. And then Padres came back in the 5th inning, and that's when Tatis got his solo shot. defensive, sloppy defense. It should like, this is huge where Taylor got an RBI single. Tatis made a hell of a diving play. He had zero chance at getting Muncy at second base, yet he still threw the ball. Ball gets away. Muncy scores from second. Dodgers take a 4-2 lead. This kind of felt like the entire series. Like we saw Seager throw it away. That ended up costing them a game. We saw Tatis throw it away and miss a ball on another occasion. That should have been a double play ball that ended up costing them. So ugly defense all around. Luckily this time it worked in the Dodgers' favor, but well, I guess they got a little lucky because Trinan, same thing, literally in the 7th inning, gets the double play ball, should have ended the inning. McKinstry throws it away, makes it a 4-3 game, but he makes up for it in the 8th with his RBI double. And then Knebel, who has been just absolutely just killer for the Dodgers through the first couple weeks, just did not have it going for him at all Friday night against the Padres.
Yeah, he couldn't get a feel for his curve whatsoever.
Yeah.
He just couldn't find it.
It just wasn't going for him. Profar, RBI double. They tie it up there. Turner comes out, does his thing. That all that dude did was really hit in San Diego. He got screwed a little bit with some of those strikeouts, which we don't have to get too deep into, but my God, that strike zone was one of the most disgusting things I've seen. Turner went down 3 times. Not one of those strike 3 calls was actually a pitch in the box. Not once.
Yeah, no.
It was ugly.
It was bad on both sides, though.
Yeah, it was.
So at least it was kind of fair. It's not the Padres series, but even yesterday, there was a pitch, I think it was to Taylor, that was like 8 inches outside.
Yeah.
Other batters boxing called strike 3, and I was just like, okay.
I don't know what's going on. Yeah. That was really Turner's only struggle in the series, and you can't really blame him because it wasn't his fault at all. It was an awful zone, but he came through with that big RBI single in the 9th to give the Dodgers a 6-5 lead. Again, a little bit more sloppy from the Dodgers. Jansen comes in to pitch the 9th. He gets the first 2 outs, then walks Machado, who steals second. And they did not have a chance at getting Machado stealing second. He would have been safe. However, if Seager holds on to that ball, the game would have been over because Manning overslid the tag. Yeah. Seager just did not catch the ball. It was not Smith's fault. He caught it right on the heel of his glove. It popped out. Manning slid like maybe a good 6 inches off the bag. Game would have been over, which is a bummer because you kind of feel for Jansen, who's out there. He has been looking pretty good. Obviously, the walk falls on him. And then it was his day ended up ending, but I think it was Hosmer that ended up coming through for the Padres.
Did Machado steal third too, though?
I think it was that he stole a couple times. I'm going to be honest. I've never seen Manny Machado run as much as he did friggin' against us this last weekend. Like that dude looked like he hurt his back and was out here stealing, I think, back-to-back bases. I want to say you're correct because he stole second. And then he stole third, and I didn't know what was going on because I've never seen him.
He wasn't hurt. He was faking. He was trying to do that Paul Pierce shit. Yeah. So
good old man.
100 million people have said this, that Manny Machado hustled more in that 3-game series than he did in the World Series or in the playoffs for us, and it was true. I have never seen him hustle so much before in my life. Clearly, he really
wants to beat the Dodgers. Yep. He probably feels stupid about that bet he made about having to pay up his whole contract if they win a World Series.
I don't know what happened when you were here. Did they not want you back? I'm not understanding your hostility. But, if it makes the series better, then it's fine. And he got hits, but they were singles, so I don't care about that at all, actually.
Yeah, he had himself a series, but they were all very minimal. He didn't really do anything too big, so not too concerned there. But I did find it funny that he was all of a sudden running his ass off around the bases, and I've never seen him run that fast before. But they would come back.
Who knew he could run fast?
I don't think anyone knew. But they end up coming back, tying it up a little bit rough because we have seen Jansen kind of find some of his older. He's pitching angry. He's throwing 94, hitting 95. The 94 has been consistent with the cutter. Looking pretty decent. So I did feel a little bad from there that he did not get that. But again, you can't walk. You can't walk, still, guys.
Yeah, but it's nice to see his velocity back up.
Yeah.
His movement.
And
his command's been a little wonky. In spring training, I thought his command was really good. He was hitting the zone. But, I can't really complain with what I've seen so far. Interesting note, though, I saw is the slider has a 100% whiff rate, but he's only thrown it 8 times.
Oh, damn.
So maybe mixing that in slightly more could benefit him in the long run.
Yeah, whatever he's doing, I mean, keep it going. Coming out to two of America's most wanted. No more California love. Pitching angry, doing his thing. That's what we need. So love that. But we roll around to the 10th inning when things got a little bit exciting. Santana comes into the game and hits Mateo on the first pitch of the at bat. No idea what was said, but man,
he blew a kiss at him.
I thought that's what he did. Like he kind of like perched it, like like
perked
his lips
did
up.
He say something?
And I was like, I was kind of like, oh, okay, but damn, Santana was ready to scrap. Like that dude walked up and was like, we're gonna fight right here. And Muncie's like, no, we're not. And Muncie's big ass just grabbed him and like pushed him back like 6 feet. But Santana was bringing the heat. He was probably hyped up. His first like actual big kind of rivalry game, not like the playoff feel to it, people you want to call it a rivalry, whatever. He was hyped up, ready to go. That cleared the benches. Surprisingly, I thought it'd get worse over the weekend, but it didn't. He cleared the benches, and it also put the go-ahead run on base. Mateo takes second on a defensive indifference, and Santana gets Tatis looking to get out of the inning, and Santana was just fucking hyped, fired up, yelling, which like I can't blame him. He completely locked Tatis up. Tatis didn't even swing the bat right down the middle, had no idea what was coming. So that was a lot of fun to watch. That really pumped everything up. Nothing going in the 11th. The 12th inning rolls around and Corey Seager crushes a 2-run home run to give the Dodgers the lead, and they would go on to score 3 more runs that winning, with David Price driving in a run on a sac fly. So like that game really just had it all. They would go on to win 11-6. So
but what a weird inning that was.
It was.
Jake Cronenworth, second baseman, gets pitcher David Price to fly out to pitcher Joe Musgrove.
Oh yeah.
And then also strikes out Mookie Betts.
Yeah, that was like some weird baseball that you're like, you thought it would have been like 11-1, but it was definitely much closer than that, the way that one ended. But we got good baseball in all of them. Same thing happened on Saturday. We got ourselves another very good game. This one was a pitcher's duel kind of right from the start. We had Kershaw versus Darvish. Kershaw freaking looking so damn good on the mound right now after struggling in that opening day start, but he went 6 innings, 2 hits, 0 runs, 2 walks, and 8 Ks. And it was actually his 47th career game with at least 8 strikeouts and no earned runs given up, which is the most among active players and the 5th most in MLB history. So keep doing your thing, Kersh. You are just so damn good. And whatever it is, keep
honestly,
going.
I thought he was going to get lit up, but man, he shut me up real quick. I think the only issue he had besides Profar's bullshit was the 2 walks. Obviously, he wasn't too happy about that, but otherwise, I mean, his slider is absolutely ridiculous.
That slider's disgusting.
Sometimes I see him throw it, and he can throw it in a variety of different ways, and when it's on, and it's been really on since the start in Coors.
Yeah, and we don't get a fired up Kershaw like that, especially during a regular season. So like to see him get that pissed and then come out 2 more innings and still
let's be honest, Profar's swing was bullshit.
Oh yeah, that's an awful call. And it's one of those things that it's kind of like, what do you do? And it happened in the 4th inning, and he was awarded.
Was already in the glove.
Yeah, it was
strike 3. It was
in the glove. It did not. Profar was not making contact with that ball, whether or not he wanted to. I did not find really anyone agreeing with Profar outside of like Padres fans. Analysts were saying it. Other big fan pages like John Boy was like 100% agree with Kershaw. This is some bullshit. You can't be doing that. Kershaw was pissed. Profar, don't know why he was getting so animated, like fuck you, yelling at Kershaw as if like bro, you just swung and hit Barnes' hand. And Kershaw said after the game, like his biggest concern was like, you could have broke Barnes' hand, like hitting the glove like that. And so it wasn't even just about the fact that someone got on base. It's like you could have seriously hurt another player. And
don't
it's like
with Kershaw's catcher.
Yeah. And it's like, it's one of those things that it's just like, no, dude, like I think it was Friday night, actually, now that we talk about it, Grisham like hit Smith on the backswing and didn't even acknowledge that he nailed Smith. And like, I can't stand Trent Grisham. Like that dude just bugs the hell out of me. I think
my dad said the same thing. He sent me a text talking about there's something about Grisham I just can't stand. It's like his mannerisms. And I was like, I can see that.
Yeah, he just kind of plays the game as if he's some hot shit, and he hasn't been around long enough.
Yeah, even Tatis hit the catchers on the backswing, but he apologized both times.
Yeah. And it's like, I get it. It's not on purpose, but at least turn around and like put a hand out and be like, yo, my bad. Cause like, you just hit the guy in the head. But yeah, back to the Profar thing. Kershaw said after the game, his biggest concern was Barnes' health, understandably so. Kershaw didn't care, went and got the strike, or I actually totally blanked right now on what just happened after, but he got out of the winning, didn't mean anything. I was surprised that this didn't turn into anything more after, but yeah, Profar, not much of anything going for him, except for that. I mean, he did have a game the next day, but that's fine. Kershaw had to get it done on both sides of the ball that day, and actually drove in the first round of the day when Darvish walked in with the bases loaded. And after the game, he pretty much said he was just trying to be a pest. He was trying to be annoying. Don't make it easy on Darvish, make him throw pitches. So I love that. It's a professional at bat from Kershaw.
An amazing at bat from Kershaw, because the rest of the team prior to that, I mean, Darvish is a good pitcher, don't get me wrong, but they were struggling. They were swinging and missing through a lot, chasing pitches, and Kershaw was just, even the pitches that were close but would break away, he'd foul them off, and he was taking some. It was he had the best at bat of the day.
Yeah, he made him work. He watched the close pitches. He fouled off what he needed to, and he got that big walk. Gave the Dodgers a 1-0 lead, which is almost all which is really all they had going all game, until Turner again doing his thing, solo home run in the top of the ninth. So they would go on to win 2-0. But the one thing we cannot ignore from that game was Mookie Betts. That game-ending catch, like, that was wild. It hit off the heel of his glove. He just got to it. 10% catch probability. Not to mention it was the MLB Play of the Week, which is only the second time in his career that Mookie's ever gotten that honor. But my God, that catch, like, to have the break, you have to break as soon as that ball is hit and just be full sprint and lay out. And Mookie, like, was pumped. I don't know if you saw the comparison pictures after where he's up, like, pounding his chest over his heart, and I think it was the Real Dodger Hogs had put a picture of Kobe in the background where Kobe takes his Laker jersey and pulls it and shows off like the Olympics over his heart in that big game. And so that was huge. I was like yelling in my house. I was so pumped. Mookie was freaking hyped up. That right there, like, even before everything else, really made it feel like, oh shit, these games really do matter, and like made it feel like a playoff atmosphere, because that dude just came up yelling on his knees, pumped. And like, I saw a picture after of, I think it was McKinstry in right and Pollock in left, I think, or maybe Taylor was in right at that point because they did some defensive switches. But like, Mookie's yelling and they're like getting all together in center field doing their thing, and like Pollock's like barely laughing and Mookie's all hyped up, and like Mookie looks like the only one who's like freaking out. Victor Gonzalez was very happy with that catch. But good for him because he picked up his first MLB save that game. So he was excited, I'm sure, for
the whole series was just super intense. It really did feel like a playoff series. And it's wild because honestly, these were games 14 through 16 on the schedule.
Yeah.
And the fact that they were so intense and the Padres fans were acting like it was the goddamn World Series. Mm-hmm. I was just like, guys, like, honestly, I didn't care if they won all three games. It would have mattered zero to me. But they clearly felt like this was really big games for them, and they still lost 2 or 3. So
yeah. The better team showed up. The better team did their thing, and I kind of feel like it was a very much like series that was kind of like, yo, Padres, you guys are good, but let's stop pretending you're on the same level, because it's kind of obvious that you're just not there yet. Like, the Dodgers did not play well, and they're out here talking about, I saw a Padres fan like, oh, well, we don't have our team at full health, and it's like, dude, like, Betts is barely doing anything. Like, he's just coming off a hurt back. We don't even have Bellinger. We don't have Lux. Like, if you want to play the whole health game, like, we can do that too. Like, our guys are kind of broken right now in one way or the other.
Yeah.
But
there was a lot of people that just did not play well this week, and they still won 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So again, just if they get it together, just there's not a chance the Padres can beat the only team that can beat the Dodgers is the Dodgers. We've said this over and over again, and that's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah,
but don't get me wrong, the Padres are really good, and hell, they might even win 3 or 4 next week against the Dodgers, but it's not going to mean anything.
Yeah, the Padres are very good, but I think it's just safe to say that the Dodgers are the best team in baseball. And it just right now, until there's a little bit more consistency from the Padres, I just don't think it's just not even close in my mind. But they're good. They put up a good fight. They put up good competition. They make the games fun, which is always great for the sport. So I'm glad the Padres are a better team. Just it makes baseball better. We need baseball to be better. And then we had the Sunday game, which was Bauer versus Snell. Bauer, that dude has been very good over his last 2 starts. This outing, 6-inning pitch, 3 hits, 1 run, 1 earned, 1 walk, and 7 Ks. But he's only given up that 1 run over his last 13-inning pitch against the Rockies. He was fantastic. I think he only gave up 1 hit. Came out, did it again yesterday. Didn't look, I would say, like his absolute best. He even said he wasn't that great. But I mean, he still struck out 7 of them. He did his thing. He was hyped at multiple times. I was looking forward to him. Manny Machado does unfortunately still very much own him. Just
singles.
Yeah.
Singles that don't mean anything. So I'll take that.
Yeah.
As long as it wasn't singles for like RBIs or doubles or home runs. If it's just singles with nobody on, you can have that every day of the week. I'm good with that.
Yeah, he had tried. He said he was going to come in with a different game plan and beat Manny, but we're going to see this matchup plenty of times. I think we've got like 16 more games.
There was that one
against
slider
them,
he threw, and Manny had zero idea what to do with it. I don't know what Manny was swinging at.
I think that was the one that bounced like inches, super far. So that was actually the biggest swing and miss by a player all season for the ball. It was like 38 inches off the plate. So that was the biggest like swing and miss from a player all year I saw after that game. But that one was a lot of fun too. Mentioned it earlier. Taylor got the scoring started with a 2-run shot off of Snell in the 2nd inning. Cronenworth had the only run against Bauer with his solo shot. This isn't important at all, but if you were watching, I did have a little bit of a kind of funny moment. Luckily, he did not get hurt, which is why it's funny. But Turner caught that pop fly in a foul territory and tripped over third base, and Bauer like motioned at him that he was safe. So that was a good laugh in the middle of a very intense series. And then I don't know if I'm sure everyone saw it or hopefully saw a clip, but Bauer struck out Tatis to end the 6th inning, and that dude just like he yelled at Tatis, like not yelled at him, but like yelled in his direction, pounded his chest, and walked off the mound. So Bauer was hyped up. Speaking of hyped up, we got Brusdar Graterol activated off the IL, and he actually made his 2021 MLB debut, or not MLB, sorry, 2021 season debut on Sunday. Alex Vesia had to be optioned in order for him to come back, and Vesia came back because Beatty was optioned. So no Beatty, no Vesia right now. But Graterol, they set him up to come in and pitch. The very first batter of the season was Manny Machado. I'm going to say the biggest fan of this because I feel like Brusdar pitches with a ton of emotion, and I was a little bit worried like, this guy's coming off a shoulder thing. Like we want to throw him out there in a series he's going to be very amped up for. And he was. His first pitch clocked in at 101. And then he gave up a leadoff hit to Machado, who took second on a pass ball. Hosmer doubled, unfortunately tying the game, and he got spammed to strike out, then got the ground out, but walked Caratini. Alexander came in, 2 out, 2 on, got the ground out to end the inning. Unfortunately, 8th inning is when it fell apart for our Dodgers. A bad throw from Seager allowed Profar to reach to lead off the inning, and then it kind of just fell apart from there. Unfortunately, Alexander got the pop out, so it really should have been.
Alexander's looked a lot better.
Yeah, he has
3 or 4 games.
Yeah, as someone who constantly talks shit on him and says I don't want him on the team, he has been pretty decent. So I will give him that for sure. So
as far as Graterol goes, he was a little wild, but it's his first action, so it's to be expected. He missed all of spring training. Do we even know if he threw any? I'm sure he threw simulated games during the alternate site, but. So I wasn't expecting him to be great, and when Roberts put him in, I was like, oh, okay, I don't think Roberts cares too much about losing this game.
Yeah,
I knew what was going to happen. So I mean, he was throwing gas 101. Did he hit 102 at one point or no?
I don't know.
I thought I saw 102, but even if he didn't, he was throwing straight gas. But the problem is he's throwing it straight, and as wild as it is, MLB hitters can't time that. So yeah. It has to happen. I feel like at that point it was kind of like we need a different arm in there.
bullpen kind of got used up quite a bit, especially with that 12th inning game. So I get it. You don't want to keep using guys that have already pitched in a couple games. So might as well get Gratterall in. Santana did come into that 8th inning and walk Tatis, but he does get Machado to fly out. And at that point there's 2 outs. So that's where Seager's error becomes that much more costly because the inning would have been over. Unfortunately, Hosmer singles, giving them a lead. Fans double. That's a nail in the coffin for the Dodgers. Ended up being the day for them.
The one thing about Santana was he was throwing a lot of his slider. It kind of feels like he's doing what Joe Kelly did. Last year, Joe Kelly would come into games when the season started and throw nothing but his knuckle curve and then throw a fastball. But for Santana, I feel like he's kind of doing the same thing, but only with his slider. He's throwing a lot of sliders and not his fastball, and his fastball can reach 97, 98. So it would be nice if he would mix his pitches a little bit better instead of just relying on the slider because, again, Major League hitters will start to figure it out, and the Padres did that second time around.
Yeah, he looked good in that first outing, did his thing, and then he did all right against them in the second outing, but would like to see him mix it up a little bit more. One thing that we're going to have our producer Ray add in here, because it was very funny, but Blake Snell made a comment after the game about Trevor Bauer and how much of a hole he makes in the mound. So we will let you guys enjoy that and listen to it pretty quickly. Blake Snell's a funny dude.
The one thing, no, because Bauer, he'd be digging in that mound a lot. Oh my God. There was a crate. It looked like something just crashed on top of the mound. There was just the biggest hole. So Bauer, we got to work on that. I know you got to, get grip on the ground or whatever, but man, my foot was killing me.
I hope Bauer heard this and has some type of response, because I think they'd be kind of funny, just bullshitting with each other back and forth. But Ray, you'll get back.
I think he tweeted back at him. It's it. So like, dude, that was just your toe or something like that.
Oh, saying about his foot.
He definitely responded to it. Yeah, okay. They definitely had some fun with it.
Yeah, that was funny, saying like something crashed into the mound. But a couple numbers that I did want to briefly touch on, kind of what's going on with our guys, either at the plate, just some hot starts, and yeah, like only a couple of them. But Justin Turner slashing 407, 471, 780 to start the season, leads the league in doubles and is tied with Ronald Acuna for most RBIs in the NL with 16. He has found his power stroke. We are not used to seeing Justin Turner hit 5 home runs in April. I'm pretty sure he doesn't even have that much over his whole career between March and April.
He doesn't.
So whole 30.
I think he had I think it was like 2 before this. It was like 2.
Yeah, 2 or 3, something like that. And he's got 5 this year. So skinny, whole 30 Justin Turner is out here banging. And it's working. So hey, whatever you got to do, just keep doing it, because I think for him, dropping the weight and being flexible will help with his health long term, and he's clearly seeing the ball well. So no complaints there. Like I said, with Bauer, over his last 2 starts, 13 inning pitched, 4 hits, 1 run, 1 earned, 3 walks, 16 Ks with a .69 ERA. So Bauer looking like one of our best pitchers out there. Yeah. I think it's.
I did want to say about Bauer is, I think you mentioned he didn't have his best stuff. He fell behind a lot of Padres hitters, but again, 1 run on 3 hits, and 2 of those were to Machado. I think he's looked really well. Even the A's game, it wasn't bad. It was 2 runs over 6 2/3. Yeah, I'll take that every time.
And it was his fault because he hit the guy. Like, it wasn't even. Yeah.
So, but interesting thing is, I was on Baseball Savant, and it had Bauer throwing more curves than sliders so far this year, and I thought Bauer was throwing nothing but sliders and cutters, but apparently he's throwing a lot more curves. The curves just don't look like the curves we saw in spring training, so I guess that's why I'm getting confused. But either way, the breakdown is showing that he's mostly a fastball pitcher right now. And in years past, the slider and curve usage was up. So once he starts throwing those more, which have been his best pitches over the years, we can only hope that means that great starts will continue to come for him.
Yeah, and speaking of curveball, did you see May racking up all those strikeouts on his curveball freaking last night? 8 strikeouts last night on the curveball, it was kind of funny because I think they said he had like 6 or 7 in total last year, and like he's out here just racking up all of them on the curveball right now.
Those were classified as curves?
Yeah, last night.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
all right. I need to change that. Okay. But May's had a rough 2 starts, but
it feels like it's a command thing with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
The command just hasn't been there. And I think he's still so young. And I think that's something we preach a lot on here is like some of these guys are so young compared to like what we're used to. Like we're used to Dodger prospects coming up and just dominating. And like, yes, for the most part, a lot of them do. But May is so freaking young and his stuff is so nasty that all it's going to take is him figuring out how to repeat the same delivery that's going to allow him to have that command. And he's going to be friggin' nails, because even when he struggles, it's like last night when Marmolejos hit that home run. Like you just can't leave a pitch that's down the middle to a lefty like that, because they're gonna crush it every time, especially at 99. You put a bat on a ball at 99, that thing's gonna fly out most of the time. Yeah.
So what I was saying was, so last night he wasn't hitting his spots. There was too many fastballs over the plate and down the middle. He wasn't getting it elevated enough. But I am encouraged about his sequencing and pitch mixing, because he's getting a lot of strikeouts, and strikeouts were like a big thing. Like we talked about strikeouts with him and Gratterall. I mean, Gratterall just came back, so we're not sure how it's going to play out yet. But with May, it's clear that he's really worked on that, and he's striking out a lot more people. So I think once he gets a better feel for his command, it's good luck to the rest of the league. Because I mean, he hasn't been awful. He's not bad, but there are innings or two where he does struggle to find his command. And once he figures that out, it's going to look really scary for the rest of the league.
Yeah, he finds that command, it's game over. There will be no more concerns at that point, because his stuff is just absolutely disgusting. Clayton Kershaw, kind of talked about him very briefly. He has been incredible. 12 innings pitched, 7 hits, 0 earned, 2 base on balls, and 14 strikeouts. He's right there with Bowers being our best pitcher currently coming out of the rotation. Corey Seager has cooled off, but he is finding his power stroke. He's got his 3rd home run in the last week. He had one last night. He's since the postseason, he's actually averaging a home run every 8 at bats against lefties. So I'm glad at least one Dodger can hit lefties, because, no one else seems to want to do that. So good for Seager there.
McKinstry doesn't look too bad against lefties too. He's come up with some big hits against lefties.
Yeah, McKinstry's clutch. The dude comes through when they need him to. And so I like that. Would like him to clean up his defense a little bit, but I kind of feel like that's something you had mentioned whenever we talked about him, that he's kind of a bat first prospect and he'll have to work on the defense as he goes. So he's been a huge surprise, ton of fun to watch. Smith, dude's killing it, hitting the ball hard, just has nothing to show for it. Reminding me a lot of his 2020, his expected batting average. Like he's just
with Smith, so
right now. So
yeah, but I feel like at the same time, prior to this little cold streak, he was hitting the ball at 95 miles per hour. I don't know what his average is now, but I swear it's like close to 90. So he's been hitting the ball a lot weaker recently. But
right now it's at 90.6.
Okay, so it's dropped down 5%, 5 miles per hour. But at the same time, we know he can get there. So it's just a little rough patch, and I'm not really too worried about him.
Yeah, no, his expected batting average should be 290, and he's hitting like 1 something, right? He's hitting where is it? He's hitting 211 right now. 211. Yeah. His expected slugging's 89th percentile. He's not chasing much. He's in the 88th percentile. So
he's number 1 on the Dodgers in chase rate, I believe. I was looking, I forgot what I was doing, but like the chase rate kind of popped up, and I was like, damn, Smith just doesn't chase at all.
Yeah, which is, I mean, that's always a huge thing, because yeah, he's taking his walks, he's not chasing, so he's hitting the ball hard. It is still early into the season, but as someone who has been very hard on him about his framing, I do want to say that has looked much better. Right now he's in the 92nd percentile when it comes to framing, so that is a very big jump last year from like the 20th percentile. So good for him. Just need it's looking like 2020. He hit the ball really hard to start the season, nothing would drop, and then all of a sudden everything started dropping for him. So as long as he sticks with his approach and isn't chasing balls out of the zone and just keeps barreling it up, not too worried about him.
So I think for chase rate, it's Smith, Taylor, and Muncy, I think, are the top 3 Dodgers in.
Yeah, and Taylor, I think we talked about this. He's kind of last year changed something up in his approach a little bit. So his strikeout's been racking up a bit. He
still strikes out a shit ton.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like Muncy, where they don't chase, but they strike out a lot in the zone, which is kind of weird. But
Yeah. You know what? Sometimes though, I've kind of changed my approach a little bit on strikeouts. Like at the end of the day, I'd rather my guy strike out than hit into a double play. So I guess it just depends
Absolutely.
on
I would trade the one out for two.
Yeah, it depends on the scenario. Strikeouts suck, but it's also part of the game. So it depends on the scenario. I would like to see Taylor step it up. Has not been too hot. And unfortunately, neither has our guy Mookie Betts. Last week, he's gone 6 for 5 with 2 doubles, a home run, 1 RBI, 4 walks, and 5 strikeouts. So I think you talked about this a little bit. He's just not hitting those pitches that are down the middle. The fastball's down the middle. He's popping out a lot. Not worried about him in the slightest. He's Mookie frickin' Betts, but it just kind of sucks that we have not seen him get off to a good start. So hopefully that turns it around very soon.
But then again, last year he didn't get off to the best of starts either, and then he kind of just found his groove. So
yeah, he's someone I don't worry about. If anything, I just can't stop thinking about his arm and getting hit, and I just want him to be healthy because he's exactly like Bellinger in the sense that what he can do defensively and on the base paths can outweigh his struggles at the plate. Yeah, because the dude doesn't chase. We know that. His expecting batting average is the 69th percentile, so he should be hitting around 279, and he's there. I mean, the numbers aren't horrible by any means. It's just you look at it and you're like, oh, Mookie Betts, come on, give us a little bit more. So
it was just a rough week because he was getting fastballs like right down the middle, just popping up, and that's like very uncharacteristic for him. So I imagine at some point he's going to start smacking those.
And I also wonder how much that has to do with his back and coming off, like having to readjust and find his swing again, not seeing any pitchers. So like I said, our biggest thing for him is just be healthy after last night. Not too concerned really outside of there. Want to give you guys an update on Bauer's balls. Well, his baseballs, but I don't know if you saw that sign at the game in Petco. They were like, check Bauer's balls, and they like their punctuation was incorrect. It was a very weird sign. I mean, I get where they were going, but I listened to the John Boy podcast, and to give you guys an idea, there's no update at all because it sounds like this is going on for just about every single pitcher in the game right now. Bauer spoke on this on his YouTube channel and said that he isn't the only pitcher this is happening to. He's just the only one being talked about because he's Trevor Bauer. He's polarizing. Everyone pretty much knows he uses sticky stuff, so everyone wants to talk about it when his balls get taken out of the game. However, I was listening to the Talkin' Baseball podcast, and John Boy actually spoke on this, and he said that the players aren't actually going to get busted at all, and that MLB never bothered to tell the public this, that they only told players in the clubhouse, like the managers, this. MLB has, according to John Boy, he said that they have heard from multiple sources that MLB does not plan on busting any players if they do get caught, that it is being used strictly for testing purposes so they can understand what players are using and that they can either figure out a substance of their own to make and give players or add it to the ball, because we've heard them talk about doing stuff like that. But MLB was like, hey, let's just never tell the public about this. So you have fans that are like, oh God, is Bauer going to get suspended or fined? And apparently they told players like, no, nobody's going to get in trouble for any of this. We're just doing it for testing purposes. So then you have places talking about Bauer's balls being taken out of the game, but it's like nothing's actually coming out of this. So again, I heard this from the Talkin' Baseball podcast. John Boy, it was sometime last week. Take that however you want. He seems to have his connections.
I think he's got pretty good sources, I would say.
Yeah, and I think they would have already found something, and Bauer already would have been busted. This game was over a week ago, so
this was the A's game, right?
Yeah, it was the A's game.
He's had 2 starts since.
They took the balls out of his first game against the Padres too. So I think they're just doing this with every pitcher, and no one really cares except for that when it's Bauer, they're like, oh shit, Bauer. So yeah, I don't think anything's going to come up from that, which is kind of what we said when all of this dropped to begin with.
If that's true, and they are just testing it and then trying to figure out a substance that they'll make legal, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I've got no problem with this. I don't really have an issue with pine tar / substance to begin with. I think it might be a little bit better for the game if it's regulated a little bit better, just because you have guys like some using pine tar, and then you have Bauer who reportedly like pays scientists to make some weird concoction and like put it on the ball, which I get. Maybe at some point you're kind of like, okay, dude, how far do we take this? So if MLB is trying to figure it out, that can make it allow players to still use it and regulate it, I don't see anything wrong with that at all.
So like, I know we're kind of running out of time here, so I want to quickly just say something about Julio, since he's getting the start today in like 20 minutes. So like Julio hasn't had two good starts. The Rockies and the Nats weren't really good starts in the Rockies series. The Rockies game, he went 6 innings, but he gave up 5 runs, 4 earned, 7 hits, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. So back-to-back games that didn't really go as planned. He really needs to like locate better. He needs to get his fastball up more or hit corners. He really needs to utilize that changeup a bit more. So far he's throwing 53% fastballs, and the batters are actually hitting 400 against it. The changeup has been thrown 22% of the time, and hitters are batting 0 against it. No hits and whiffing at 37%. So he might want to up his changeup usage a little bit more. Baseball Savant still has his curveball and slider separated, but we all know last year he combined it to make a slurve. So that needs to be fixed. But the batters are hitting the slurve pretty well so far too. So a rough few outings, but like we've seen what he can do, and it's about finding consistency. And I'm looking for a bounce back start from him in 20 minutes.
Yeah, that would be great if it goes today, because he's absolutely capable. He has some special outings, and he has some that look like they need to be cleaned up. So looking forward to seeing him on the mound today, because you just never know what you're going to get from him.
And also he's slated to pitch in the next Padres series, right? The fourth game?
I think so. They confused me at first. I think they said it was going to be May, and then they said, no, never mind. It's going to be Urias. But I do know for a fact it's Buehler, Bauer, and Kershaw again. So, yeah. The Padres will be a very, very good test. The Mariners are hitting the ball well, too, so it'll be a good test. But I think the Padres will be a very, very solid test for Urias. Very quickly, couple more things. I will try to be quick so we could get Ray on the MLB news very fast. Roberts told media yesterday, when it comes to the 85% threshold for the coronavirus vaccine, that if they weren't already at the 85% threshold, he believes they are very close to it. If they hit that 85% mark, some of the protocols will be loosened up. Like they can play cards on the plane. They can go out to eat with at restaurants, I think indoors now. They don't have to wear masks in the dugout. So loosening up those protocols is great. More importantly, I just want to see our whole guys be safe and keep everyone else around them safe. So I hope they hit that threshold very soon. Matt Kemp is planning to play for Team USA. He announced to be playing for them this summer as they try and make a bid for the Olympics. So I will definitely be watching that. Me and your mom are going to be watching the Team USA game. I just gotta show that love for Mr. Matty Kemp. So he'll be out there playing. And then some quick injury updates. Unfortunately, on Friday, Roberts announced that Bellinger had received another scan on his leg, and that it is was brought to their attention that he has a hairline fracture in his left fibula, and it is no longer considered day-to-day. We don't have any type of update. Roberts said today they do not want to put a timetable on there just yet. Hairline fractures can be a little bit tricky, especially in that kind of leg area. So if you guys want, you could check out on our YouTube channel. The LA Dodger Dog actually had a doctor. His name is Dr. Colin Tempelis on his show for about 10 minutes. He's a doctor of physical therapy and certified in strength and conditioning, actually talking about Bellinger's and Lux's injuries and what we can kind of hope for there. So if you want to check that out, you can find that on our YouTube channel at Dodger Yard. You can also find the podcast version of his show at the LA Dodger Dog show. So that was pretty cool. And since we're talking about Lux, he went on the IL with some wrist soreness. Sounds like he got it when taking an at bat, fouled the ball off. He was available to pinch run and play some defense last week before going on the IL, but Robert said he couldn't take a swing with the bat. No real reason to push it. Don't need him out there, especially when he's just not performing.
Also, interesting enough, he's not only has he been the best Dodger on defense, but he's been one of the best in Major League Baseball. Baseball Savant has him number 1 with Matt Chapman tied. So, I mean, it's still early, but also at the same time, there was a lot of questions about his defense. And if he's up there with Matt Chapman, I'll take that. So while he maybe offensively it's not great, his defense is clearly needed, honestly. So, let's get him healthy.
His loss of defense has been hurt for the infield. We've seen Taylor boot a couple balls, Seager boot a couple balls, and just not turn in double plays that should have been turned. So very much would like to see Lux back. Plus, I'm just excited about him. I kind of think the defense screwed with his mind a little bit back in 2019, 2020. I think he's a hitter, so all it takes is him. If he can get that defense going, the hitting will follow shortly after. And then last but not least, unfortunately, don't have much of an update, but Tony Gonsolin last week, all we heard was that he hadn't started a throwing program yet. Aren't talking too much about him. Would be really great to get him back if the bullpen has to keep pitching kind of these games. It would have been really nice to have him in that series against the Padres, or even last night when May came out of that game. So we've got Bellinger, Lux, and Gonsolin still on the IL. Hopefully Mookie Betts is not following after a closer. I'm assuming they'll do an MRI in the next day or two when swelling goes down. So yeah, Dodgers taking a couple hits on that IL if we can get him out early in the season.
Also, quickly, shout out to David Price. He's been fucking fantastic his last few outings.
He's been absolutely nails as a relief pitcher. I don't think any of us saw him coming out and kind of doing what he's been doing, but to give you an idea,
it was a struggle at first, but man.
And as much of that struggle was first 2 relief outings, 3.2 innings pitched, 5 runs, 2 Ks, 2 walks. His last 4 relief outings, 5 innings pitched, 0 runs, 8 strikeouts, 2 Ks. So the strikeouts there, his stuff's looking good, and he's got the command, and he's not giving up any runs. Yeah. So they don't look to.
The turning point for him was me dropping him in fantasy. So
that's what it was. That's how it always is. Just needed the Dodger fan to drop him in fantasy, and
So when Lux comes back, I'll be dropping him as well, and then he can go do great.
Yeah, I might have to drop him too, because I definitely picked him up on all of my teams. But with that said, Ray, do you want to head into some MLB news so we can get ready for this game?
Yeah, so we'll run through this quickly. There is a lot. So the MLB is going to more rules experiments this time in the Atlantic League. They're pushing the mound back 1 foot, 61 feet 6 inches, and they're testing out a double hook DH is what they call it, and it's basically the DH can only be used for the starting pitcher. So when you take your starter out, your DH is done, and like basically the reliever slots in there. So it's like sort of like still having pitchers hit, but like a DH, they're incentivizing pitchers staying in longer, which I don't think that's not the way.
I heard it's like the best of both worlds. Like you kind of get the NL like strategy a little bit, but I hate it. It's stupid.
Just let the pitchers hit if you're trying to do that.
Well, yeah. And if they're not going to hit, like just don't make them hit. Like either there's a DH or no DH. What are we doing? Sorry. Okay. I'll let you keep going. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. That one bugs me.
Yeah. Injury updates. Ronald Acuna Jr. He is day to day with mild abdominal strain. Test did not determine that to be a really serious injury. So hopefully he avoids the IL. Christian Yelich has found himself on the IL with a back injury, 10 days. Lorenzo Cain also down for the Brewers with a quad injury. Lance Lynn has a strained right trap. The White Sox pitcher, he on the 10-day IL. Starling Marte for the Marlins. They haven't announced him on the IL yet. He's probably going to go on there. He has a broken rib and non-displacement fracture in his ribs, so he is just basically going to rest up for that. Nick Castellanos, his suspension was upheld. I don't know if that's too surprising, but like the whole thing stupid. We've talked about that before. Jay Bruce, Yankees big outfielder, first baseman, played 14 years in the majors. He retired on Sunday pretty suddenly. Just kind of like announced that he was going to retire after the game on Sunday. So pretty good career for a guy who's just been around, played a lot for the Reds mostly. Sean Kazmar Jr., he returned to the big leagues for the Braves after last playing for the Padres in 2008. He toiled in the minor leagues for years. He's 36 years old now, and he finally got back to the major leagues. His only plate appearance so far has resulted in a double play, but hopefully he gets more chances. And so pitching milestones, Shane Bieber, he set the MLB record so far with 4 straight games with 10 or more strikeouts to begin a season. And he tied Nolan Ryan with 48 total strikeouts for the most in the opening 4 games of a campaign. Max Scherzer also passed. Yeah. So the 2, fluky Cy Youngs from last year are actually kind of doing pretty well. So, and Max Scherzer passed Cy Young for 22nd, I believe, on the all-time strikeout list. And Carlos Rodon, the White Sox pitcher, lefty, threw a no-hitter, near perfect game. He hit Roberto Perez on an 0-2 pitch with 1 out in the 9th. And, he's had an amazing career arc to this point, and it was an awesome no-hitter. So our second no-hitter of the year already. And that's in a big week of news. That is all of it.
Yeah, that is a big news. Not a big fan of all those injuries. Baseball is much better when everyone is healthy, especially Ronald Acuna and guys like Christian Yelich. So hopefully they are back soon. Thank you for that. Konu, did you have anything else to touch on, or were you good to go?
Nope, good to go.
All right. Well, good. Because in that case, we've got a game in 10 minutes. Hopefully Dodgers can tie this series up and have a nice off day tomorrow, get some rest before a big series against the Padres. So as always, we appreciate you guys tuning in, and make sure you give us a follow on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, all that good stuff at Dodger Yard. And you can find me at Randy_Radcliffe on Twitter and IG.
You can go to allmylinks.com/Konu, KONU, and find my social medias on there.
You can follow me on Twitter at Stingray417.
And we appreciate your guys' support. So go ahead and do us a favor, leave that rating and review, share the podcast with your friends. Go Dodgers. Let's keep the winning going. This team's looking real damn good. And we hope you guys have a good rest of your night, morning, afternoon, weekend, whatever it is you listen to this. And we'll catch you guys next week. See you later, guys.
Bye, guys.